Lori, just a few seconds ago, there was a lot of commotion starting here. There's some network news playing behind us. And as that rolls through to cover the Arkansas race, people here get excited. The campaign staff have been confident all night. They say that Sarah Huckabee Sanders herself won't be coming out until her victory speech later on tonight. Again, the polls just closed moments ago. This has been a long campaign trail that could all end tonight. But that contradicts state regulations on vaccine requirements. So I asked the governor, what would make Arkansas's grant different from the one that Texas schools received back then? In just a few weeks, the new regulations from the ATF could change how a gun like this is viewed, whether this stabilizer here changes it from being a handgun to a short-barreled rifle. As you mentioned, we are seeing record-breaking numbers here, record new cases, record active cases. There was some concern that this could end up in a runoff. Were you ever concerned? Hours after Roe v. Wade was overturned, Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge certified a law nearly banning abortion in the state, except to save a mother's life,
thereby restoring the state of Arkansas the authority to prohibit abortions.
Governor Hutchinson signed this law last year, but it couldn't take effect until today's ruling. We sat down with the governor minutes after the law's certification.
To have that change in one decision today is probably one of the most dramatic historical moments that I've had from the court in my lifetime.
Arkansas's new law has no exceptions for rape or incest. Last month, Hutchinson said he would consider efforts to put those exceptions in place. But today, he voiced a different perspective. It doesn't have any exceptions for rape or incest. You've talked about some hesitation about that in the past. How are you feeling now?
You know, I've made the point that there is a closer debate on the exceptions of rape and incest, but the legislative will was clear. I don't expect that to be revisited in the short term, if at all, and because they expressed the will of the people of Arkansas that they want to protect the life of the unborn.
Arkansas has one of the highest teen pregnancy rates, a group that historically makes up a large part of abortion patients. But Hutchinson explained contraceptives will continue to be available under state law.
It's important to note, and this is not for teens because, you know, hopefully they will exercise abstinence, but there is no prohibition in terms of contraceptive access.
There is still some confusion over where emergency contraceptives like Plan B fall on this law, as well as when a high-risk pregnancy is considered life-threatening.
That's something that a physician has to determine. That's not something that the government does. We don't step in there and try to replace what the physician says.
Hutchinson admitted that resources for the additional expected births are not quite ready right now, but he predicts they will adapt to the jump in demand once it arrives. You mentioned adoption, but the foster care program in Arkansas is already overwhelmed. They were calling for more foster parents needed. You know, now there's going to be more babies. What happens next?
Well, I think that there will be a growing demand, and I think parents will step up to the plate. I think they will be willing to adopt as needed. But, you know, we want to put the resources as needed.
He mentioned putting more money towards crisis pregnancy centers, but there are still unanswered questions about what resources will be needed and how much.
We're all going to learn a lot in the coming months and years.
Reporting at the Capitol, Sarah Horbacewicz, THV 11 News.
Now, Sarah also asked about communities of color, which historically are more affected by abortion restrictions. Hutchinson said the desire to protect those communities was why the state expanded Medicaid coverage. He didn't add anything else about their access to abortion.
In a crowded race for the Democratic nomination, Chris Jones is currently the highest funded candidate. The Pine Bluff native is looking to bring his experience as a scientist into the political arena, staying close to the center.
If you really want to stick a label on me, you can stick pragmatic on there. Pragmatic Democrat.
Jones is working to refocus how issues like state spending and employment impact the individual Arkansan.
And really I care about, as I mentioned, PB&J. Preschool, broadband, and jobs, which is really education, infrastructure, and economic development.
Jones says overall, he's aiming to take a closer look at how each dollar is spent to try and avoid further taxes. Is there anything in mind that you would think of cutting right now, or anything that you're going to really take a closer look at?
It's hard to imagine the need for cutting budgets in the educational space.
Jones also says he still wants better support for pandemic resources, but with a more direct path to health care.
At the end of the day, what they said works. is really providing, the financial resources that they need, particularly in the areas that lack staff, that lack the supports, but have the need.
On the Libertarian ticket, Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. is the sole candidate vying for the job. You may remember his name from the 2020 U.S. Senate race, where he received more than 33% of the vote against Tom Cotton. He's also running on a more practical platform, but he's less focused on change and more on maintaining the status quo.
I'm a very pragmatic person. If it is not broke, don't fix it.
But he says he is looking to fix or change how the economy runs in Arkansas.
How would you continue to push for growth in industry with a worker shortage?
We need to start taking a look at circular economies. And these are economies where our waste become the product again, and attracting companies.
His focus is on securing basic needs before the state's potential for growth.
Simple food, clothing, shelter type of politics.
Aiming to be an option for Arkansans who feel torn at the polls.
So I'm not beholden to any party. I'm beholden to the people of Arkansas, regardless of their party. But my path forward is to meet the people where they are.
And finally, the Republican frontrunner in this race, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We gave her campaign 4 months to do a sit-down interview, but they declined to talk to THV11, saying they did not have time to share her platform with viewers or have anything to contribute right now. So we looked to past events she's held to bring some insight of her plans if she gets the governor's job.
And I know I can be the leader that Arkansas needs.
Huckabee Sanders is the daughter and former staffer of past Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, and more recently served as White House press secretary to former President Donald Trump. As she exclusively told us at her campaign kickoff event this summer, she wants to focus on developing the outdoor economy.
I think our outdoor economy is a huge advantage for Arkansas. We call ourselves the natural state for a reason. We need to go out and own that.
She also hopes to create more skill-based education opportunities.
I think we have to change the way that we look at education, and we need to focus on making sure that we're actually putting them on a path to prosperity so that when they either graduate from high school, whether it's graduating from a 2-year program, a trade school, or a 4-year university, they're ready to go out into the workforce.
This only scratches the surface, as this series doesn't include the other candidates still on the ballot. Next week, we'll continue to explain the candidates' belief on social issues like abortion rights, as well as health care concerns like vaccination mandates. Reporting, Sarah Horbacewicz.